So, it is. Paula, is there anybody outside or? No, okay. Yeah, thank you. Oh, okay. So somebody's out there. Okay, yeah. Oh, yes. So, it's 6 o'clock. Yeah, so we'll get going. Good evening. I'll do much better and I apologize for my slips, in the last meeting and, we'll not let that happen again. Sorry. So good evening and welcome to the Plan Advisory Committee for Tuesday, January the 20th. My name is Brad Mitchell and I'm the chair of the Plan Advisory Committee. The Plan Advisory Committee consists of 9 citizens of St. John who have been appointed by Common Council to provide advice and recommendations to Common Council on planning applications, including amendments to the municipal development plan, zoning bylaw, and section 59 conditions, the vesting of public streets, and the dedication or release of lands for public purposes. In addition, PAC is a decision-making body for applications including subdivisions, variances, conditional uses, similar and compatible uses, and temporary uses. Our views and opinions are independent. PAC meetings are public meetings which are live streamed on the city's YouTube channel, with the recording being available for public viewing. This is a safe space and we ask for everyone to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Should anyone interrupt the proceedings, they will receive one warning. Should disruptions continue, they will be asked to leave the meeting. To ensure that the meetings run without disruptions, we ask that those in attendance place their phones on silence. Members of the public, you are welcome to remain in the chambers to listen to the debate and decision of the committee. However, when your item is concluded, you may leave. If you have any follow-up questions, please contact city staff. In the event of emergency, please exit the room through the doors and proceed to the lobby. Staff will guide you to the building exit onto Chipman Hill. Now we'll move on to our meeting. So the first thing is to ask for a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion, Terry? Seconded by Phil. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Roll call. I'm Brad Mitchell, chair. First chair is Phil Como. Second chair is Josephine Chekwa. Councillor Jerry Lowe. Councillor Gary Sullivan. Terry Hutchinson. Blake Slattery. And Peter Corfield. Thank you. We didn't talk about this earlier. Did anybody have a conflict of interest on any of the 2 items that we're dealing with this evening? From the city, this is from last time. We don't have, Panka's not here. From the city, we have Jennifer Kirscher, Bill McKay, Yerba Matheson. Roseanne's not here. Who else do we have here? Jeremy Clark.
I guess I could do that.
No, that's fine. And who else?
And we also have Tim O'Reilly.
Tim O'Reilly from Traffic. Thank you. So the first item we'll deal with is to get the approval of the minutes from December the 16th. Any questions, or do we have a motion to approve the minutes from, have a motion? Do I have a seconder? Blake? All those in favor? Opposed? Pass. Thank you. So 5.1, just give me a moment to open this. I'll go back to my old way because you don't have it written up for me. So the application is for Rex Hurley Boulevard. It's a municipal plan amendment and rezoning. Proposal has been submitted to expand the Glenview Mobile Home Park. The expansion to the northeast of the existing park would involve a 5.5 hectare site and would include the extension of Rex Hurley Boulevard and Glen Road and the placement of approximately 55 new manufactured or mini homes. To facilitate the development, amendments to the city's municipal plan and zoning bylaws are required. The municipal plan amendments will redesignate the property from rural resource area and park and natural area to stable area on the city structure map. We'll also redesignate the property from rural resource and park and natural area to stable residential on the future land use map. It'll expand the primary development area of the PDA. In addition, the subject site will be rezoned from rural to mini home park. Did I cover everything? Yeah. So I'll ask staff. I didn't know who, obviously here. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. As said before you today is a municipal plan amendment rezoning for a portion of site at the end of Rex Hurley Boulevard. Let's see if I- Sorry about that. So the subject, and I went too far. There we go. So the proposal is for a redesignation of the subject site from rural resource to stable residential, and then to expand the primary development area to encompass it, which would allow for it to connect to city services. And then this would include a rezoning component from rural to mini home park. This is to facilitate the expansion of the existing Glen Falls Mobile Home Park. The site is on the east side of the city near the Glen Falls neighborhood, and it's characterized by a mix of low-rise housing typologies, including the existing portion of Mobile Home Park, single family, some duplexes, etc. The Rothsay Avenue commercial corridor and McAllister Drive commercial area are also in close proximity. The site itself has an area of approximately 5.5 hectares and would be accessed off of the existing Rex Hurley Boulevard. This lot is currently vacant and wooded at the time, and there is the presence of wetlands on the western boundary. These have been delineated, and any work near them would require WAWA permits with the province. A new access would also be created to connect Rex Hurley Boulevard to Glen Road as a secondary exit from the park. In the above images, you can see where Rex Hurley Boulevard currently ends. This is where the site would start the expansion. That second image in the top is of the existing park. And then the third image is Glen Road, where a secondary exit would connect. The site is currently designated as rural resource, with a tiny portion designated as park and natural area in the municipal plan. Just to note that the park and natural area node does not actually accurately reflect the current Marsh Creek or the wetlands. And the applicant has done that delineation, so it would be under WAWA permits if it was to be near that. Staff are recommending the site be redesignated to stable residential and that the primary development area be expanded to encompass the site to allow for connections to municipal services. Sorry, let me just. The most relevant municipal plan policy for this proposal is LU 86, which outlines housing of almost every form and density can be found in the stable residential area, and that the existing neighborhood context and compatibility with the broader goals should determine the suitability of new proposals. And the proposed designation and use of the property as an expansion to the mini home park would meet that intent as it respects the current density and demonstrates consistency with the broader goals. Other municipal plan policies, such as LU 87, intend that the area designated stable residential will evolve over time, but that it would reinforce community character and make a positive contribution to the neighborhood. The low density and scale of the proposed expansion respects the existing density of the mobile home park and the wider Glen Falls neighborhood and the existing low-rise neighborhood. And this would make a positive contribution to the neighborhood by providing more housing in a desirable neighborhood and utilizing existing access and streets to expand from. The site is currently zoned rural, which aligns with the current designation of rural resource, but it only allows resource-related activities and very limited unserviced residential development. The new proposed zoning would be mini home park, which accommodates serviced residential development in the form of mobile or mini home parks inside the primary development area. And these often include private streets, such as in this case, the Rex Hurley Boulevard. Letters were mailed to property owners within 100 meters of the subject site on December 22nd. And one letter has been received in opposition. It was not in the package, but it is before PAC members tonight. The public notice was posted on January 19th, and the public hearing date is set for February 9th. Staff are proposing that council redesignate the entire proposed site on Schedule A as stable area and on Schedule B as stable residential and expand the primary development area, and then also proposing to rezone the site from rural to mini home park residential. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members have any question for staff at this time? Thank you. At this time, we'll ask the developer to come forward. And if you could state your name and if you're in agreement with staff recommendation.
Stephen Perry, Brunswick Engineering. We've reviewed with my client all the recommendations, and we're in agreements with everything.
Is there anything else you'd like to add at this time, or is we?
I can give you a quick background on why we're here. So we went through the same process a few years ago with the existing trailer park. There was a demand. It was early 2010 or 2013 range. The demand was there, so we went forward with an expansion on the existing trailer park. First couple years went by, 2-3 lots would sell. About 2 years ago, we actually had conversations with staff regarding this expansion that's before you now. There wasn't a whole lot of excitement about it. The park wasn't moving very quickly. Over the last 2 years, they went from having 5 lots built to they're now at capacity right now, which is why this is now on the front burner and fairly urgent because the demand continues. And we see this as it's affordable housing at the end of the day in an area that is already servicing as a trailer park, leased land community. So we see that there's a lot of benefits to the city. All the new infrastructure will be private that will tie into the city's water system and sanitary. We've gone through Wawa permits with the province. Currently, we're going back and forth with revisions to get Wawa permits in place. We're trying to do all our due diligence so there's no hiccups or last second concerns. So Wawas are in place. We are going through engineering for the secondary access. So that will be crossing March Creek. We'll be upgrading a portion of Glen Road to city standards. Currently, a large portion past the last resident would be a gravel road. So we'll be upgrading the road, putting in a new culvert. Basically trying to upgrade the entire area and hopefully service for future expansions beyond this one.
Thank you. Any committee members have questions? Bill?
I'm just reading, we only have one letter. Did you speak with the people in the neighborhood? Were you talking to anybody?
Not recently. This is actually, I wasn't aware there was any letters, so I haven't.
It just came in today in our package. So I'm just going to address one of the things here that they're concerned about, and that was sidewalks. Any plan? And you talked about upgrading the road a little bit. Any plans on sidewalks or walkways just for safety?
Would that be in the park or neighborhoods?
Yeah, the new portion of the park that you're
currently in the newer section of the park. The roads are actually wider to allow for, people are comfortable when there's 2 cars, plus there's extra room and grass landscapes. There's no concrete sidewalks being planned at this point, just because of the streetscape and the ability to come and go with the houses if people want to move out or in. Curbs and sidewalks make it very difficult to try to get these 60-foot trailers in place. So it'd be more of a wide streetscape with, there's no ditches or anything like that. So there's nothing preventing people from being able to travel up and down the road safely.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Lowe?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I like the affordable housing part that you're talking about, but are you going to lug any rock through Glen Falls like the last time? So what you hammer or it's staying up there, is it?
So this phase, the previous phase had a significant amount of rock to move, both on site and then there was excess rock. This next phase, we've actually dug some test pits and we found that it's all gravel. There's very, very little. It's a similar approach. So the entire existing expansion and future proposed expansion, it's essentially a side hill. So we were taking the upper side of the hill and putting in the lower to kind of flatten everything out. This is the same scenario, except for there hasn't been any rock in any of our test pits. If there is any rock removal, it's going to be with a hammer and an excavator and a pipe trench, possibly. But there will not be the same magnitude of rock being moved. There's no blasting whatsoever planned for this phase.
Any other questions from committee members? Yeah, go ahead. Just hit the speaker button on there, please.
Sure.
Yes.
Just one question. You mentioned about no blasting, existing gravel there. What about any sort of water concerns that come as a result of being in that area? Glen Falls, I'm aware that there's always water sort of concerns. What about any results of cutting down trees, water runoffs, and those kinds of things?
That will be addressed in our stormwater management. However, with our stormwater management, we're taking a side hill and we're going to be flattening it. So we will be reducing the velocity of the water's coming off the site, as well as by having a pipe system and a series of rear lot swales. We're actually going to be holding water on the site longer, just so we can satisfy the city's requirement for stormwater management. So that will come. That's still in the preliminary phase. We're just working out kind of rough grades right now, and then we'll have the stormwater component added once it goes to the city for approval.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Josephine?
Yeah, thanks. My question is, are you aware of MB Power concern on not being in the right of way of the transmission line? And if you're aware, are you putting any mitigation in place, or how do you hope to work around this? Is it working out well for you for this project?
It's actually funny. We weren't originally aware of MB Power because at that point, my client wasn't an owner of the properties, so that he wasn't given a letter notifying the MB Power's intent. It was brought to our attention by staff. We roughly put it on our new drawings. The final location we'll get from MB Power once they finalize, and we've planned to have green space under those areas because we're going to have to anyways. There's no point of fighting that one. So we are aware of it, and it's just going to reduce the lot count, but that will be where our green space ends up.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee members? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There really isn't a public hearing, so at this point, ask whether any committee members have questions for staff or anything else that we'd like to bring forward, or a motion. I've got a motion to move second recommendation from Councillor Lowe, seconded by Phil. Any question? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. That's 5.1. 5.2. Uh, 5.2, the applicant is Oak Hill Homes. The landowners Oak Hill Homes. Plan designation is rural resource area and park and natural area. Proposed plan designation is stable residential. The zoning is rural. Proposed zoning is low-rise residential. Application type is municipal plan amendment, rezoning, and subdivision. So I'll ask city staff. Oh, you're back again. Thank you, Zara.
Thank you. So as said before you is a municipal plan amendment, rezoning and subdivision for a portion of a site at the end of Summit and Clint Drive. So the proposal is specifically to redesignate the site to stable residential and expand the primary development area to encompass the subject site, which allows for the site to connect to municipal services. This would also include a rezoning component for the current rural zoning to low-rise residential, like the existing neighborhood. And the rezoning application at this time would be limited to phase 1. The final component of the application is the vesting of public street, and the subdivision itself of lots would be done by the development officer, but the street vesting does require council approval. Lands for public purpose would also be determined at the subdivision stage. We have confirmation from our Parks Department they would like green space, but this would likely have to be paired with money in lieu due to the scale of subdivision, but this would be done on a phase-by-phase basis. The subject property is located on the east side of the city where Summit Drive and Clint Drive kind of terminate. This is the north end of the Lakewood Heights subdivision, which is accessed off of Loch Lomond Road, and the area is characterized by low-rise single-family homes. The property itself is it's a very large site. The portion in question is only about 18 hectares and would be accessed off of Summit Drive for the first phase and then would connect to Clint Drive in future phases. At this time, it is vacant and wooded, and there is the presence of wetlands on the western boundary closer to Riley Drive, but these would be delineated before any development occurs. In the above image, you can see Summit Drive where it currently terminates at the subject site itself, and this is where the street would extend into phase 1. The second image is of Summit Drive looking the opposite direction at the existing street and neighborhood, and then that third small image is the Clint Drive where it terminates and would be a future point of connection. The site is currently designated as rural resource with a tiny portion designated as park and natural area. Again, this park and natural area node doesn't actually accurately reflect the current mapped wetlands. The applicant would need to do that delineation and be in contact with Wawa for any permits in this area, but that would more accurately determine where this wetland is. Staff are recommending the site be redesignated to stable residential and the primary development area be expanded to allow for that connection to municipal services. Again, the most relevant policy for this is LU 86. The proposed designation and the use of the property as low-rise would meet the intent of LU 86 by respecting the surrounding density and demonstrating consistency with the broader goals such as housing choice and affordability. Other relevant policies like LU 87, the design and scale of the proposed expansion does respect the existing scale and density of the Lakewood Heights subdivision, which is a low-rise neighborhood. And this would make a positive contribution to the neighborhood. It would provide more housing in a neighborhood that's very desired and would utilize existing accesses to expand from. The site is currently zoned rural. This is a designation that aligns with the rural resource and would allow for only resource-related activities as well as very limited unserviced residential development on very large lots. The proposed zoning is low-rise, which accommodates a range of ground-oriented, lower-density residential development, often in the form of single-family, townhouses, duplexes, and the like. It has a maximum height of 3 stories and a maximum of 4 units per lot if the lot is large enough. And this is the same zoning that exists across the Lakewoods Heights subdivision as it exists. While the proposal is to redesignate the entire site under the municipal plan and expand the PDA fully, the proposal is only to rezone for a small portion of the site as shown on screen. So part of this application is subdivision as well, which is the council assent for the vesting of public street. We are proposing only the vesting of phase 1 in conjunction with the rezoning. And this is to allow for infrastructure capacity and traffic concerns to be addressed at each stage. Phase 1, by allowing for phase 1, the developer could start the project, but would allow for staff to reassess conditions at a subsequent rezoning. Letters were mailed out to property owners on December 22nd. 28 letters have been received, 1 in favor and about 27 in opposition. And I will note the applicant has been responding to these neighbor concerns. The public notice was posted on the city website on January 15th, and the public hearing date is scheduled for February 9th. So staff are proposing the council redesignate the entire proposed site on Schedule A to stable area and on Schedule B to stable residential and expand the PDA, and then rezone for phase 1 and vest the associated expansion of Summit Drive at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, do committee members have any questions for staff? Good, thank you. At this point, I'll ask the applicant to come forward. If you could state your name and if you've read or agree with staff recommendation. Wow.
Good evening. My name is Isaiah Reed from Don Moore Surveys and Engineering. Good evening, all the members of the PAC. Tonight, we are looking at the rezoning application and the expansion of the primary development area for the Oak Hill Homes subdivision expansion off Summit Drive. The first thing I would like to just, reiterate is thank you to the city staff and everybody that we've been working with up to date thus far. As Yeva did point out earlier, what we're seeking for tonight as far as rezoning is what is shown here on the site plan for phase one. This is the first 30 lots that will be connected off of Summit Drive. As well, the servicing plan that we propose to have for this. At this stage, it is still early in the preliminary stages of the development. However, the infrastructure will connect through Summit Drive is where we'll make our connection point. And the city engineers have done a review of all of the flows and capacity of both sewer and water for the site and shows that it is more than adequate for not only phase one, but future phasing as well. For right now, we do agree with going with the phased approach and have no problem reevaluating as we go along with this process. As Ava pointed out, this would be the proposed full development. And then there was some mention of green space as well too, and I'll get to some more of the community engagement a little bit later on too, but there was comments in some of the letters, if I'm sure you guys have read all those, and some people had questions and concerns about would there be more park space, so on and so forth. And I've had the conversation with the developers, and that is something that we would be looking into for future, and we have no problem allocating a little bit of space to look into that and potentially work with Parks and Rec to see if we can make something happen. With that, a bit about the developers is Oak Hill Homes was formed in 2007 to retail prestige homes, and it quickly expanded from there into a multifaceted development company that has put up more than 1,000 families in homes across more than 20 subdivisions throughout this province. And this is hot off the press. These stats just came back out with the 2025 housing stats. So I'm not sure if everybody has seen this yet or not, but I put together a couple little stats over specifically the last 4 years here. Over the last 4 years, there has been 10,931 new residents come to the city of St. John. Over that same 4 years, there's only been 2,583 housing starts. Of those, 1,608 have been multi-unit housing, and only 975 single-family homes have come to market. The need and the feasibility to build these single-family home subdivisions has deteriorated so much with the cost of paving street and building street and infrastructure, storm management, all of the things necessary to get these things off the ground. It makes it very hard for developers to come in and build these houses for people at a rate that we can get into them. Luckily with us, Oak Hill Homes has that ability with the modular homes. And again, something that I don't have in this slide, but was a point of contention of one of the residents, and I did email back about, was ongoing construction of the Loch Lomond Lakewood area. For us, having modular homes get going in there does a couple of things for us. One, expedites that process, and two, reduces that noise of the concerns for the residents as well. So a little bit of stats about why this is absolutely necessary and a great initiative by the developers as well. There was some posts that were made. I'm sure maybe some people were aware. It was and on Facebook into a group, and they were inaccurate of statements saying that we were looking to do a mini home park up in here, but that is not true. And I've been trying to help get that information back out to whoever we can. So I've created this rendering, and this is a preliminary house plan that we have, and there's a few more, but you can see in here, but those are real house plans out of the catalog of the developer as well, placed in what would be the exact development right there. So that hopefully that brings a little bit of familiarity with what is existing in the neighborhood for the existing residents. So this evening, while we are only searching to rezone a portion of this phase one, we are seeking the expansion of the primary development area. And I want to give a little bit of context into why we're looking to expand it to where we are. So if you go here, what you'll see is what we call the sewer shed. And this is actually just it's a very high level outlook of this property and why we decided to actually design it the way that we have. If you can see on the black where the proposed road sections are and all of our elevation shots, what this allows us to do is use the existing city infrastructure to its maximum capacity. Well, not maximum capacity, its most efficient capacity, I would say. And this allows us to go and drain everything without having pumps installed, so on and so forth, right? As soon as we cross over this ledge, you're pumping up, and now you have pump stations and lift stations, and it becomes very, very expensive to do. So the expansion of the PDA, although the line was drawn in red at the end of the subdivision, if you were to look at the topography of the site, this is where it would make the most sense to put it, and that's how we come up with the area that we have. A traffic impact study has been done, and it was done on multiple occasions. And again, this is a large topic, and we've been dealing with the city, and I've been trying to have conversations with the residents as well for this too. A big point of contention again in the letters that was mailed out was that the traffic report was done in August, is what people were wondering about. But I think everybody failed to read a little bit further into it. They did reference that there was a traffic study report that was taken in January that they were able to reference, of January to reference for school time. So they were able to compare accurate time while the peak flows were in school, and have that data all be compiled to be accurate of the current time of year. The location and proximity for this proposed development is in a fantastic location. It's close to existing schools like Lakewood Heights. You can see over there, those are bus routes, all kinds of urban amenities for the proposed development. And as far as community engagement has gone, like Ava said, there has been some back and forth throughout social medias for some of these people and residents. And I've also been taking the time for every one of those emails, every single one of them has had an email like this responded to them, and every specific question that they had, trying to get to what we could back to them. And that door is always open, and I hope to keep having that conversation as we go forward through this. So, and that's just another look of the homes.
Thank you. Do committee members have questions for the applicant at this time? Oh, go ahead.
Couple, yeah. Thank you. That was a really, really good presentation. I enjoyed that. And it put a lot of, because I do belong to that group, because I live out east. And so a couple of concerns that did come up was the water pressure. And I thought you addressed that and said that study was done.
Yep, it was. The city engineers have done that. There was more than adequate.
Okay, and phase one is going to be 30 lots.
30 lots.
What is the end goal here for lots at the very end? Once you develop 5 years down the road, what's the end goal for lots in there?
I mean, on that plan, it has 219 lots. The likelihood that we get that is 0, because we are going to decrease a bit, where we've talked about putting green space in there, probably in the range of 200, I would say.
Okay. I love that you mentioned parks. I think that's a great idea. How long do you think this whole project is going to take?
I'm not quite sure on the timeline of that build out. Maybe I could let Derek speak to that, but wish you who he is here tonight.
All right. And the only other question I have, I see, actually I have two. First one is, these houses are beautiful. I love them. Are you planning on, I know if we rezone it, it's going to be up to 3 stories. Are you planning on any of that? Because I know that's in the back of everybody's mind out there.
No, this is what we're looking at doing right here.
Okay.
Modular homes all throughout,
Beautiful.
corresponding to what's happening there right now.
Okay. And the last thing, you mentioned schools, Lakewood Heights. Has anyone looked at the infrastructure there? Can we hold at the very end of this, families for this amount of people at the schools? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. My brief answer is I've personally tried to contact the Department of Education, and I've been still waiting on responses. But if the staff has also been doing that too, that's fantastic. So, yeah.
your conversations with the residents, are you getting any headway? Are you changing minds? on
Some of them,
the-
like, I have had one person, like, and this is candidly on both sides, one person that I've been dealing back and forth with the letters come back and said that it wasn't sufficient enough and wants to stay on the side of not supporting the development. Every single other person, we've been having multiple emails, and I haven't been able to, go back multiple times so far, but they have all like really appreciated the conversation that has been going both ways, and I plan to continue doing that with them. So
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Lowe?
Yeah, when did you and the city agree to 31 units? What day in January?
in January to 31
Well-
units.
Yeah, no, in other words, you started at 219, yet the city came back and said, yes, you can do phase one. Most of these letters are written based on the whole development. Read the letters. They're opposed to 219 houses being built out there. They're not based on 31, so we got a problem.
Yeah, that came back to us when we got the staff report back, which would have been the same time as everybody else received.
So you didn't know that the city was going to agree to the 31?
No.
My question is, the people that opposed it, other than I think there's one written January the 9th, Mary Stack, they were opposed to your whole build out. And now the city has turned around and agreed to 31. Do the residents know that?
I've been trying to make it very clear on all my correspondence back to them, yes. But that's why I was hoping that tonight, that's why I wanted to do a full presentation to
Well,
really get that out there.
if you read the letters, they're talking about 219.
Mm.
So I would strongly suggest you start knocking on doors, not doing emails back and forth, because they're opposing your entire build out. When all the cities agreed to, and you've agreed to, the 31.
Yeah.
So you're in two different worlds. Like, I mean, I strongly suggest that your people or somebody starts knocking on doors on Dolly and Clinton and those areas up there and tell the people it's not the whole build out. It's only because in order for you to get more, I think.
Councillor
Come
Lowe, if
back
I may,
here. Yeah.
I can offer some clarification here.
Good.
We advised the proponent in March of 2025 that we would support 30 units. That was when the modeling was completed by St. John Water. So they've been aware of the 30 unit support in that regard for 9 months.
Well, I don't really care about what you're saying. What I'm talking about is the people that opposed it are writing letters. Read the letters. The letters state it's the 219. So they've been misinformed, or they weren't informed that it's been reduced to 31. So I'll ask PAC now, or I'll ask staff, when did you reduce it to 31? When did you agree to 31? And the Dobson people agreed to 31. When did that happen? Okay,
My understanding though is that we're approving the PDA and municipal plan amendment for
Yep.
219,
right?
but for the rezoning, we're only voting on the 30 phase one.
I agree, but to come back. Yeah, you stand up, I'll ask.
Well, no, we're asking let's finish with the development,
All right.
then we can go to
But
staff because we got a bunch of questions for staff.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
in order to have anything beyond 31, do they not have to come back here again?
Yes.
Rezoning.
They certainly do.
So they'll have to come back for rezoning
Right.
and subdivision, street vesting for subsequent phases.
Yeah.
The initial application was requesting a rezoning for the entire area and subdivision for the entire area. Discussions with the applicant and between staff and the applicant happened after the public presentation had started and through the feedback received, and as well feedback from other service areas. A discussion occurred in order to determine if the applicant would be amenable to staff recommendation of phase one only for the rezoning. The full build out, if all subsequent phases were to be approved, would be the larger number. And that is what is reflected in the PDA, which was advertised and is separate, essentially a separate process than the rezoning, as required through legislative standards. So we are required to advertise the municipal plan amendment, PDA expansion.
Yes.
And that was a public presentation, which a lot of the letters were submitted on based on the full build out. And then through that and through subsequent discussions, that staff would be able to support only phase one for the rezoning and subdivision, and the applicant was amenable to that. We would not be able to support the full rezoning and full street vesting for the entire development at this time.
Can I ask her a question, Mr. Chairman? She's answering. Can you tell, can you, I know, can you tell me, Ms. Kitchener, when the city and the Dobson people agreed to the 31? 31 or 30, I'm sorry.
I'll have to ask Eva. I was not at that meeting.
Then I'll ask Eva. Eva?
I was trying to pull it up in my calendar, but I believe it would have been the first week of January.
I was told it was March of 90.
So we get feedback at different stages.
No,
We would have started our this.
But I'm only concerned about the residents that either for or against the proposal.
Yep.
And when I read the letters, they talk about the full of the, I understand municipal plan of PDA, we're extending that. I understand that. And I understand to go beyond the 30, they got to come back here for rezoning, correct? And street names, right? The gentleman said the city notified them in March of 95. 95 or 25, 95, right? And you're telling me it's January, which I thought it was too, of 26. So the public feel that the whole PDA was going to be built out and was going to be the whole 200 and whatever it is. And nice letters are addressed that, but you're telling me the city agreed in January of 26 to 30. Big difference.
I can add to some of the timeline. When we generally do an application, we have to mail out well in advance. And oftentimes a full review has not been completed when the mail out starts. So we did our mail out, we did our full review, and it came to the conclusion that we could only support 30. So we had a discussion with the applicant post mail out because of the timelines we have to work with. So today we are just proposing to you the 30, which does differ from those letters which went out before this recommendation was made.
Correct. But under the new system, those people can't come here and ask questions. They can come to, no, I'm aware of that, but they can't come to PAC and ask the question. And to me, that's the most important thing right now. We got a gentleman that's saying that they're only going to put 30 on the lot, and yet the letters are talking 213. There's a big difference. Is to track 30 from 213. That's what's happening up there. And, you know, like I think you said, you're emailing people back and forth. I think you should be going door to door and explaining that it's only phase one that you're trying to do there. And if you go beyond that, it's got to come back here again for rezoning. Makes a big difference
I
as
can
far as I'm
also
concerned.
add, we do include our contact in all the mail out, and I have talked to people through email, and as soon as our recommendation is released, they are welcome to ask us questions if there is a difference between the letter and our recommendation.
I don't doubt any of that. But when I read the letters, and I've read all the letters, and I'm sure you have too, there's a lot of letters against, and almost all of them talk about the full, you know, the whole 219. And all the city's allowing is 30, and all we're voting on is 30.
I will clarify. So their initial application was for the full build out.
Yep.
That is what they applied for.
And that was, but that was almost a year ago. I do want to add that application actually went in that process of going back and forth through the application of almost a year and figuring out what supports that we would have is why at that time the application went in for the development. We didn't know, but we obviously are an amendable. We want to see development happen in the city, which is why when it come back, that's where we're.
So essentially, to put it in another way, staff could have worded the report and recommendation to say we do not support the application. And essentially, we do not support the application as a whole, a full build out. What staff is saying could be supported is the full PDA and a portion of the project.
I agree with that, but when I read a letter, I think it was Stack. I think it's the 9th day of January. She's saying 300 cars. Well, 30 homes don't generate 300 cars. Not everybody has 10 cars parked in the driveway. So that woman is misinformed. What's actually you're trying to do in Lakewood Heights above Willie Avenue. That's all I'm saying, right? And all you have to do is read the letters and you'll understand what I'm saying. And what you just said is probably a much better way for the people to understand. I know they can call you and they can do all that, and to call you, you don't always get an answer, and you know, I'm not being smart, but to try to call your department and get somebody to call you back is another thing. But I think that it's kind of unjustified how the city has presented this to the public up there. It's not the whole build out, it's a municipal plan, which I totally agree with. And if one more house gets up there, you got to come back to this PAC and go through the same thing again, except not for the extension of the PDA. Am I right?
Yes.
Anyways, that's my problem with what we got.
Thank you. Any other questions for the developer at this time?
Just one. You talked about the sewerscape of basically it looked like it was gravity, using gravity.
Exactly.
Is there any concerns with, again, to your point, with the full 219 in the long, but even just with the 30, with any sort of gravity and longer plans of any sort of problems and that could cause with having a large gravity fed system to the first house at the bottom of that, causing any sort of backflow issues and those kinds of things that can have sewerage, essentially flow problems?
No, not at this time. There's no concerns about that. And to build on that a little bit further too, even with stormwater, although preliminary outlook on that has been done now, we have reviewed and we will be shedding water off there into Mystery Lake as well too. That'll be going away from all of that subdivision completely in a separate direction of where the houses are right now too. So we have done the preliminary looks at that. At this stage still, like I said, it's been, you know, about a year of back and forth with just trying to get to this point here. So resources have not been fully executed into that, but we will continue to look through that and work with the city staff.
Just a second question, and not necessarily something that you may have an answer for, but as part of the letters, and I know the area, people use this trail system that's clearly on, I think, part of your road design. ATVs, people just using it as their park. Any concern that you're actually pushing the problem elsewhere with ATV usage specifically, and what it's going to cause for the 30 homes that you're putting in?
I don't really know. I mean, I understand that it's been used by public right now, but you know,
because the road up to where it's called top of the town, and a lot of people use that. Skidoos, ATVs, there's warming sheds up there, could cause some pushing of traffic elsewhere. It's not necessarily something you can address. I'm just saying, is there any way to mitigate any of that by having secondary accesses somewhere that could just alleviate any potential troubles for yourself as you continue to develop into your 219?
Well, I mean, at this stage, we certainly don't want to have the snowmobiles going up our street no more than the city of St. John wants to have snowmobiles going up their street. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if we can send them elsewhere, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can cover some of,
Will we, in any of our other developments that we've done, we've always respected some of the indoor activities that are around, so. And with this property, there's another 18 hectares of land that's sitting there, all wooded.
Yeah.
That easily is accessible by other streets down further, so.
and we're going to have city staff talk about that a little bit
Okay.
when we go to city staff again. Any other questions for the applicant at this time? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to bring city staff up. Do you want to go up to them? To address a few of these concerns and questions that we have. Jeremy, are there any questions we're going to have for you? You might as well go up. So we're going to bring city staff up. Well, Tim, we want to talk a little bit about the can you talk first of all about Loch Lomond Road, a little bit about road capacity and what have you? Can you also talk about the trail systems
Sure.
that Peter just brought up?
Yeah.
And also, I mentioned to you earlier while this was coming up, about what possibility there was of going down into Golden Grove.
Okay. Yeah, if I miss any parts of your question, get me at the end. I guess first of all, in terms of like the Loch Lomond Road traffic, it's always best first of all to talk about perspective. And with this first phase of this development, it's 21 vehicles during the morning rush will be added to Loch Lomond Road as a result of this development, which is about 20% or 2%, sorry, of the overall traffic volume on Loch Lomond Road. So when you look at it that way, you know, the addition of the traffic on Loch Lomond from this first phase of this development, it's relatively modest. Certainly, my concerns are a lot larger, which is why we definitely agree that once we go up to 219 units, we have to work with the developer a lot closer in terms of what that impact is, because it's about 5 times the amount of addition compared to phase 1. So in terms of the added traffic from this development, it's relatively modest added onto Loch Lomond Road. Loch Lomond Road itself, I mean, I do have a drone footage, which if the committee would like me to bring up, I can show you. It kind of speaks 1,000 words. I don't have to. But at the end of the day, on Loch Lomond Road itself, like we know, I mean, it was identified back in 1999 that Loch Lomond Road was going to be reaching capacity. We know between this development, the future phase of this development, and all the additional growth on Loch Lomond Road, in addition to the regional growth on Loch Lomond Road, because this does serve properties outside of St. John as well, we have to look at it. And so what we're going to be doing, and this is why we like the delay between the other phase of this development, we are going to take it upon ourselves to look at Loch Lomond Road and figure out what we need to do to deal with the capacity problems on that street. And we're a very pragmatic group in my group. Like that drone footage, which again, if you want me to show it, I can. We've made improvements already just in the last week that are going to make improvements on Loch Lomond Road just by adjusting the timings of the lights down at McAllister Drive. So we're going to look very short term, short scale, as well as all the way up to, are there additional connections to Loch Lomond Road, such as Golden Grove? Are there ways that we can get more traffic, especially regional traffic, off of Loch Lomond into other directions? We're going to take a look in 2026 at that holistic view of Loch Lomond Road and figure out what we need to do to improve it. The 1999 transportation study recommended 4 lanes on Loch Lomond Road. That's not going to happen in today's terms, both in terms of land acquisition and the overall cost. But we are confident we can find other ways to address it. And so we will be looking at that in 2026, well before this developer, probably others, come forward with future developments on Loch Lomond Road itself. Specific to the ATVs, I wish I had a great answer for that, but I don't. The challenge with ATVs in St. John is we have the legal users of ATVs, which don't go on road systems, stay on managed trails. And we have those ATV users who go where they choose to go. And that's a challenge for us. It's a challenge for our police force in order to address. So I can't tell you with absolute certainty, you know, that if you build this, it's not going to be directed to another part of a subdivision. But certainly from the developers' comments, they're going to do what they can to, you know, not entice those ATV users to other parts of the other neighborhood.
Golden Grove, that was the other
The
part.
connection. Yeah. So, I mean, I've seen this commentary. I think it started with discussions about fire access for this development is where this discussion started. I do want to caution the community in this committee about taking one of the existing roads in Lakewood Heights and connecting it onto Golden Grove Road. And the reason I say that is, yes, it will provide additional outlet for the new residents to get onto Golden Grove Road, not onto Loch Lomond. We have to remember about the risk of cut-through traffic. So we take some of these residential roads, some of them without sidewalks on it, and all of a sudden, those commuters all of a sudden see a shortcut, this connection through a subdivision to get on the Golden Grove Road. It's probably not a great idea. So as part of our analysis in 2026 is, as one of the options is does that make sense to do? But it probably won't be an extension of any existing subdivision streets. It'll likely be a new road. And if we happen to make an extension of an existing road, we have to make sure that road is designed and improved to handle additional traffic. right? Sidewalks, proper crossings, maybe more traffic calming, et cetera, to deal with it. But the long and short of it is, we're going to look at all options to address Loch Lomond, whether it's a connection to Grow and Grove, whether it's a connection all the way to Grandview Avenue, whether it's a way to encourage that regional traffic to use the airport arterial and gone into Highway 1 instead of continuing on the Loch Lomond Road. We're going to open the book and look at what we can do to make that improvement. But what I can tell you is, and again, I don't have to show it, but certainly there are some mornings, absolutely, where the traffic backs up pretty well all the way to Pauline, McNamara, and Summit Drive. So it's an issue we have to address 100% and get some of that traffic off of it, or to at least decrease the congestion. But like I said, we made an improvement just last week based on looking at the analysis, just by adjusting the lights down at McAllister, actually increased the amount of time in the morning that traffic can get through through Loch Lomond Road at the intersection. So we look at those very short-term solutions, but also coordination of the lights with Hickey. But again, maybe potentially some more significant infrastructure improvements, such as a separate road connection somewhere else.
Any committee members have any other questions for Tim at this time? Okay, Jeremy, do you want to talk a little bit about infrastructure a little bit, or we covered some of the questions, I think, but
I certainly don't have as much information to provide as Tim, but I will say that after we had our initial meeting to discuss the conceptual designs with the proponent and his design team in March of last year, we did receive the conceptual design flows for that. So that's when the modeling was performed by St. John Water. So at that time, the results that we received from them was that there would not be any foreseen issues with the sanitary sewer capacity. So Peter, to your question about whether or not there would be any surcharging or backflow or anything of that sort, no. The sanitary capacities seem to be adequate. As far as the water system capacity goes, we received approval or support from St. John Water for the first 30 units. It was not necessarily that there was not support for future design phases, but that we requested that the proponent resubmit their water flows at each phase of design so that they could be reevaluated, knowing that these developments take place over multiple years and that there's other developments within the same area that are also drawing upon the city's water system. So we want to take an incremental approach. So we're proceeding with caution. Hence why the 30 units was put forth as the Bosco suggestion. I believe there might have been a question also about stormwater. Just that's typically addressed at the building permit submission stage as part of the stormwater management plan. And were there any other questions relating to infrastructure? Yes.
Just going back to the water.
Yep.
This is going to be on city water, the new 30, if it's approved.
That's correct.
What about the surrounding areas? There was a couple of people talking about they're not on city water. Is that an option for later on for the residents that are already there?
I'm not there. There may be some residents further down Loch Lomond Road towards the airport that are closer to Loch Lomond Road. So to the south, it may not be necessarily on city water, but as far as that end of the system, everybody's on municipal water and wastewater.
Okay. Yeah. And the only other question I had on infrastructure was school, and I'm not sure that you can answer that.
Yeah,
that's city staff.
That's for planning.
Okay.
thank you.
Trip here. Do you want me to answer the school question directly then? Okay, so we did reach out to the school district and they said that using their calculations, this proposal could add about 50 students if all the homes were built at once. And that doesn't actually include just the natural progression of people leaving and coming and going and aging out and all of that. So they have no concerns about capacity. They also have 2 other schools in the area that can act as catchment. And if worse came to worse and they were at capacity, they do what they usually do in this situation where they just rearrange the catchment lines so that kids would be redirected to schools that do have capacity.
Okay, is that with the 30 or is that with the 200?
So that's with the full 200 build out.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for staff? Jerry? Turn your mic on, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was on, sorry. I'll give you an example. I went up Dolly Saturday and turned left. It's a dead-end street, so you probably know what street it was on. Gentleman came out who knew me. I didn't know him. He said, Jerry, the whole development. I said, where's the development? I was trying to figure out where it was, right? He said, all these 210 houses are being built up behind me, right? So I suggest that staff somehow, these people think that the whole PDA is being built out. And that's wrong. It's not. So I would suggest, I don't think they'd want to wait a month, but I think that the onus is on staff to send a proper letter to these people, or at least have them understand, which they don't, that it's only 30 houses being built. And it's only 30 houses that they're dealing with the school, because everybody thinks it's 300. And this gentleman, this was Saturday, which I don't know what the date was, maybe the 17th day of January. And he's telling me that he thinks that the whole back is being developed, where there's 219 houses being built behind him. He's upset. I can understand that. But if he knew there was only 30, he might not be upset.
Which may in fact set the tone for your.
Exactly. I say that, well, it was said here, I mean, things change. Whatever happened in March of 95 is not what these people understand. And you don't have to be, I was going to say a lawyer, but I see there's one sitting here. You don't have to be that intelligent to realize that it's only 30 that's coming through PAC. And it's only 30 that this committee's voting on. I know we're voting on the PDA. I understand that. I agree it should be expanded. It should be expanded in all kinds of places, not only here. But that's another day, another question. But, Falsville, and that's a prime example. I was sitting on the street off Dolly, and I really don't know. It's a dead-end street, actually. And the gentleman come down, started talking to me, and he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just coming up looking at this because I knew it was coming up Tuesday. He said, Jerry, there's 200 houses going in behind me. It's not true. There's only 30. You got to come back here again to get 31 houses, put it that way there. And I think that's important. Like, I don't know. Thank
you. Any other questions for city staff at this time? So at this time, I'll ask for a motion on the staff recommendation. Blake, I have a motion. Do I have a seconder? I have a seconder for Josephine. Any question? All those in favor?
I have a question.
Oh, you got a question? Sorry. Go ahead.
Actually, just to follow up, because staff didn't really respond. They're both right. Things change. But to head off us answering the question 40 times at council, staff should contact or do a communications, do a something to clarify what the question will be at council.
You're just trying to avoid a big crowd at council chambers, aren't you? Yeah. No, and
Is it
yeah.
too late for me to add a comment to that then? I'll go back to my team and we'll talk about maybe how to discuss and get that information out. I will say the public notice for that council meeting does reflect this recommendation, and we will make sure the staff report is very blatant.
30.
We do have a website now. We can always add to information to it as well, right?
Thank you. We have a motion and a seconder. Questions? Any other question? I get a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Pass. Thank you. New business. Next meeting is February the 17th. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Councillor Lowe, second.
The meeting is February 18th. The Monday is Family Day, so the meeting gets pushed, so it's on a Wednesday. It's
Is that the list?
it's in the list.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. We got a motion from Jerry, seconded by Phil. All those in favor? Thank you very much, everybody. See you in March.